How was that for a statement from Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense? 48-27 over the Indianapolis Colts. Purdy is somebody who would be maybe the MVP leader had he not suffered that turf toe injury, and rightfully so. He's going to vault up to the top of all of the quarterback efficiency metrics thanks to this 5-touchdown performance. He was absolutely sensational in every single phase of the game. And the 49ers followed their formula to a T. And we know that that 49ers formula is elite offense, really good special teams, and opportunistic defense. And it took a while for the defense to get on board today, but finally, D. Winters with the exclamation point, the pick six, to send the 49ers to 48 points. That, by the way, is their biggest output since 2019. They beat the Carolina Panthers 51-13 in 2019. That was a game where Nick Bosa almost had a pick six. That was the first game of Emmanuel Sanders for the 49ers. So Purdy in this game was the driver for the 49ers, 25 of 34, 295 yards, spread the ball all over the field. We're going to head down to the locker room right now and check on the status of George Kittle. Had an ankle injury that kept him out for the end of this one. 7 catches, 115 yards for Kittle. But if the 49ers can continue to do this offensively, and the Colts today, they were down their top 2 corners. I think that's really, really important to emphasize. Purdy was able to pick on those weaknesses, minus Sauce Gardner, minus Charvarius Ward. But if the 49ers can continue to churn like this offensively, they are bona fide Super Bowl contenders. They're not flawless. That defense, I mean, today we saw Phillip Rivers at 44, unable to throw a fastball. It seemed like he was striking the 49ers out with a beer league underhanded pitch and a bunch of knuckle curves. They finally figured him out a little bit toward the end of the game. Not good enough for the 49ers secondary, not good enough for their pass rush by any stretch of the imagination, but this team has not punted this month. The 49ers' last punt came on November 30th in Cleveland, and even that was a really good game for Brock Purdy and the offense. They are now 5-0 since Purdy has returned from his turf toe injury. The only turnover today was off the hands of Kendrick Bourne very late in this football game. It was tipped up in the air. Cameron Bynum actually got Purdy there. That was the 3rd time Bynum has intercepted Brock Purdy. He got him twice in that game in Minnesota back in 2023. It ended up inconsequential because just a couple plays later, D. Winters returned to Phillip Rivers for the long interception, the 49ers' first pick six since Fred Warner got one against the New England Patriots last year. But when we look at some of the advanced metrics efficiency-wise for Brock Purdy, today there was a long stretch, I think maybe the first third of the game, where he was averaging over 1 expected point added per play, which is a number that you just don't see. And Phillip Rivers was almost going toe-to-toe with him on the other side, which was what made this really crazy. It was like the game that defense forgot in that first half. I didn't understand schematically. I think the 49ers might have seen Phillip Rivers last week against Seattle only attempt 2 passes beyond 10 yards downfield. And it didn't seem that they were prepared for Rivers to attack downfield the way that he did. He obviously doesn't have a strong arm anymore. He does look 44 years old in that regard, but there were several 3rd and longs that Rivers completed today where the 49ers were playing man coverage and there was only single coverage. Like the touchdown to Alec Pierce, I think it was the 2nd score of the game for the Colts. There was no safety helping, and it was 3rd and 16. And on 3rd and 16 from the 16, so it was 3rd and goal from the 16. On a play like that, you absolutely have to have safety help. There should not be an eligible early in the progression, especially facing single coverage. And obviously they picked on Darrell Luter Jr., who was the 49ers backup cornerback. But I think that Durrell, I don't think he actually played a terrible game. I think it was the safety help that was lacking, the linebacker help that was lacking late in the game, and we'll see if there was something wrong with Tatum Bethune. But late in the game, the 49ers replaced Bethune with Eric Kendricks, the veteran linebacker whom they added to the practice squad and elevated for the first time today. So we might see some significant changes for the 49ers at that key linebacker position moving forward. Either way, they're going to need a little bit more from their defense. And the reason I say a little bit more is because you don't need much when Brock Purdy and the offense is doing what they're doing. 25 of 34, 295 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. Again, he's going to be number 1 across all the analytics. QBR, Purdy will be number 1 after this game. I think EPA per play, he's probably going to be number 1 after this game. And he did it without Ricky Pearsall, without a bona fide star at the wide receiver position. So you saw him go to George Kittle. There was the rollout play from Brock Purdy early in this game. That was a first half touchdown. I believe it was the 49ers' 3rd score, where he then threw back across the grain and fitted into George Kittle. You saw him go outside the numbers to Christian McCaffrey for the 5th touchdown pass. Christian, by the way, had 21 carries, 117 yards. He has now passed 1,000 rushing yards for the season. Christian is about 150 receiving yards away from 1,000. So he, with 150 receiving yards or around that, I'm going to do the exact math after I go down to the locker room. But if Christian McCaffrey is able to get 150 receiving yards over the final 2 games against the Bears and then against the Seattle Seahawks, then he'll be the first player ever to go 1,000 twice. That's the first player in NFL history. Juwan Jennings, big game for the 49ers, 5 catches, 71 yards. After one of his touchdown, he ran up to a Colts fan and he pretended he was giving the Colts fan the football, and then he just tugged it away. It was pure villainous behavior from Juwan Jennings. But you know what? The 49ers offense, they have to be bullies. You need a Juwan Jennings-like personality. Somebody's going to snatch the ball away from the fan. Somebody's going to upset defenders so much that they pick up personal foul penalties. If this offense has to be the locomotive to pull the train, and we've long known that it's going to have to be that, it's going to need somebody like Juwan Jennings who's going to punch you in the mouth, figuratively. You don't want him doing it literally, but he's figuratively been doing that for a while. I thought the blocking from the receivers was excellent today. Purdy actually opened up with a touchdown throw to Demarcus Robinson, so he was spreading these 5 touchdowns out to several different receivers, 2 to McCaffrey, 1 to Jennings, 1 to Demarcus Robinson on the post. That was the first drive that answered the first Indianapolis drive, and then of course, the George Kittle touchdown, which was on the sprint right from Brock Purdy. Take this. The 49ers beat the Colts by 21 on the road. Last week, the Seattle Seahawks managed to beat the Colts by only 2 points at home. So, I mean, if you're trying to compare teams and you're trying to compare, strength, and you're trying to handicap things before the 49ers and the Seahawks play on January 4th, I think that's an interesting data point. The Seahawks have a much better defense than the 49ers, but anybody in their right mind will now tell you that Brock Purdy is a whole heck of a lot better than Sam Darnold. He's a whole lot better than Caleb Williams. The 49ers will have the quarterback advantage over these final 2 games. That's unquestionable. The question is, how much slack can their defense now pick up? Because there was a lot of it today. A saving grace early on in this game was special teams. But I think Brant Boyer deserves a lifetime contract. I think the 49ers should give it to him right now. I mean, Jair Brown forced the fumble. Zamir Abdullah, who spent some time with the 49ers last year on the kick return for the Colts, 7-7 following the Demarcus Robinson touchdown. Jair Brown strips the ball away, and Jake Tonjes falls on it. By the way, I think that Jake Tonjes might have caught that touchdown late in the game. You guys can put in the comment section what you think happened. I haven't had a clear chance to see the replay, but it seemed to me that Brock Purdy had to throw 2 touchdown passes on that drive. One to Tonjes that wasn't ruled a catch, and that was on an awesome rollout. I mean, the guy's elite. Brock Purdy's elite, period. Anybody who has been trying to say that he's not has been trying to say 1 + 1 = 3 over the course of the past 3 years. But Tonjes had that play, then McCaffrey caught his touchdown, and Tonjes also recovered the fumble early in this game on the Amir Abdullah kick return that set the 49ers up for their 2nd touchdown. So for a while there, it was, 34-27, with special teams actually playing the difference for the 49ers in a positive way. It was the worst unit in the league last year. It's in a race with the Seahawks to be the best unit in the league this season. What a turnaround for the 49ers special teams unit. And I'll tell you, if you've got two of these units firing on all full cylinders, and the 49ers have Purdy in the offense, obviously, they haven't punted this month, and it's almost Christmas, and special teams is in a race with the Seahawks to be the best in the league. If you've got two of these units humming at all cylinders, you just need some semblance of competence from the third unit, and that is the defense. Some semblance of competence. I think the 49ers showed some of that down the stretch of this football game. The D. Winters pick six. Alfred Collins forced a fumble. C.J. West, how about early? He had a big play. The sack where he backed the double team, the backup center, because Indianapolis was down to its backup center. Their starter concussed himself there in the first half. C.J. West, who played at Indiana, notched a big sack for the 49ers. I mean, they got some of these plays sporadically. They just need more of those. They need to actually catch interceptions that Robert Saleh schemes up. I thought there was at least one opportunity for that today. In general, it seemed that they were unprepared for the way that Phillip Rivers attacked downfield, because he didn't do it against the Seattle Seahawks. Then they somewhat adjusted. That was a bad pass interference call against Darrell Luter Jr. that kept this game competitive a little bit longer than it should have been. They somewhat adjusted, and that gave enough to their offense to turn this into a blowout. End of the day, a 21-point win is a 21-point win. But when you look forward to the final two games and to the postseason, the 49ers just cannot slip that much early, because you risk putting yourself behind the eight ball if you're facing a defense that's cooking on all cylinders and there is an offensive turnover early in the game. You can't make Brock Purdy walk the type of tightrope that he had to walk today. I mean, he successfully walked it, but it's unfair to put any quarterback in that position, because he had put up 34 points with this 49ers offense through three quarters, and he still had to sweat a fourth quarter. He still had to play an essentially perfect fourth quarter, and I don't count the drop that turned into an interception for Kendrick Bourne as a blemish against Brock Purdy. The 49ers have to be better defensively than that. Mike has a couple stats before I head down to the locker rooms. Christian McCaffrey recorded his 10th game with 100 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns, tying Roger Craig for the third most in 49ers history. That's 10 games. Jerry Rice had 25. Terrell Owens had 12. Brock Purdy became the first 49ers quarterback in franchise history to throw 5 touchdowns on Monday Night Football. Purdy, I guess, was sick, which is crazy, so it was a flu game or a cold game for Brock Purdy. This was the 4th best offensive performance by any team this season based on EPA per drive, another MVP Purdy stat. Yeah, Brock Purdy has the same cold that I have probably. I'm sick right now, too. It seems to be going around that 49ers locker room. So the 49ers did a bunch of MVP-level, top-tier stuff offensively to set themselves up for the highest scoring output since 2019, a season which ended with them in the Super Bowl. Now the 49ers return home to play the Bears. The 49ers have now put themselves into position where they may not have to go on the road again. Look, this is Lucas Oil Stadium here in Indianapolis behind me. If the 49ers win 5 straight home games, they will be Super Bowl champions. That's all that stands between the 49ers and the Lombardi Trophy. Now, I get that it's probably a tall task, right? I mean, nobody's saying that this is going to be easy. But the mere fact that the 49ers have overcome the adversity that they've overcome to be in position where just winning 5 straight games at home will win them a Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl's at home, is insane. So cherish that. Chicago Bears Sunday Night Football next week. Seattle Seahawks probably Sunday Night Football the week after that. If the 49ers win both of those games, they are the 1 seed. They win an automatic playoff game, no wild card round. Then they would host the divisional round. They would host the NFC Championship. And if they won long enough, they would host the Super Bowl. 5 home wins away. That's where the 49ers are. Officially, they move up. They pass the Rams with this win. So officially, the 49ers are number 5 now in the NFC, but they still have their sights set on number 1. And if you have a quarterback that is as good as Brock Purdy, if you've got the top quarterback in the game, and Brock Purdy has an argument now that he is the top quarterback in the NFL. He's the most efficient quarterback in the entire NFL since 2022. He's going to be the most efficient on all the charts this year, and he hasn't had the weapons that he did in 2023. He's played top-level football throughout all of this. If you have that kind of talent at the quarterback position, you have a chance to win a Super Bowl in this league. Again, the 49ers have not punted since November 30th. It's almost Christmas. There's a chance if they don't punt against the Bears that they don't punt this month. That is a wild, wild stat. And I'm going to say good night right now from Indianapolis. I've got to get down to the 49ers locker room. The 49ers are the 5 seed. They beat the Colts 48-27. They beat the Colts by a whole lot more than the Seahawks beat the Colts, which might prove relevant as we move further into December. 11-4 for San Francisco. We'll talk to you soon.